How do you do? The Box Office Pulp Board feels it would be a little unkind to present this podcast without just a word of friendly warning. We're about to unfold a cinematic commentary track, made by a group of men who sought to create a podcast after their own ravings, without reckoning upon God. It is one of the strangest tales ever told. It deals with three great mysteries of the internet: analysis, observation, and deconstruction. I think it will thrill you. It may shock you. It might even horrify you. So if any of you feel you'd not care to subject your nerves to such a strain, now's your chance to... well, we've warned you. Now, to pause and refresh. For your convenience, we have an attractive refreshment stand in the lobby, with buttered popcorn, golden good and hot from the popper, your favorite candies, wholesome and rich, plus delicious Dr. Pepper, so bright and bracing with a tang and tingle unmatched by any other beverage. Enjoy an ice-cold Dr. Pepper at our beverage stand right now, and then return to fully appreciate this bop and a movie commentary track. Enjoy.
All these traditions. Jack-o'-lanterns, putting on costumes, handing out treats. They were started to protect us, but nowadays, no one really cares.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Box Office Pulp, your one-stop podcast for movies, madness, moxie, tricks, and treats. No or. I'm your host, Cody. Joining me today for this bop and a movie are my co-hosts, Mike. Say hello, Mike.
You notice Sam does not fight for the right of candy corn?
I thought you were going to say to party, and I was going to disagree. But
No, he's
right.
clearly fighting for the right to party, because Halloween parties
Yeah.
are part of the Halloween tradition. But notice how the demon of Halloween does not fight for the sanctity of candy corn. And we're recording this on National Candy Corn Day, which I want to point out to everybody at home. And none of us have candy corn.
Oh, no, it's not allowed in my apartment. Recently, I was at a CVS where they had candy corn, but it was mixed in with other shit. Like, they tried to cut it.
What, like
instead of just candy
cocaine?
corn- Yeah, like there was like actual good candy inside there and like nuts and shit and like M&Ms. They made like a trail mix version of
Candy corn trail mix? No.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, great. You just made trail mix bad and candy corn also bad. You didn't improve anything.
It's like putting onions on the burger. You're always going to taste it.
I don't mind onions on burgers though.
I like onion straws on burgers. Onion
Those are good
straws are
too.
pretty fucking good.
I don't like crunchy onions. I like them, really well sautéed. This is getting far away from Trick or Treat. Jamie is our other co-host. Say hello, Jamie.
Am I the only one who really wants to hang out with that huge Viking lady? Like, I want to know what she's got going on. She's clearly hitting the gym like 5 days out of the week.
That's too intimidating to me.
We're really getting down to Jamie's sexual proclivities here.
Yeah, just start things off too. So it's all going to go downhill from here.
Does anyone else get hard
while the
kids are drowned in the bus?
That's why
Oh,
Jamie
God,
gets
can
so
you
mad in
imagine
Superman when Superman saves the kids. Like, no, my hog on.
Could you imagine how bad it would be if that was your kink? Oh, I can only come if I drown a short bus.
That sounds like the worst
On
euphemism.
Halloween.
It sounds like the worst euphemism, but the reality is even worse than the euphemism.
God, that's why Brian Cox is so angry.
He could only come the one time.
Guys,
Get out of my yard, kids, before I come again.
you've seen Teeth, right? It's like that when that one kid just runs out. He's like, I haven't jacked off since Easter. It's the same thing.
Oh, we're off to a good start.
Anyways, folks, today we're watching modern day Halloween classic Trick or Treat. I have to emphasize the because there's a little hyphen. Yeah, everyone
Yes,
loves that
it's
one.
not trick or treat. We're not getting into Papa Satan here.
No. So if you guys have a copy of it, you should pop it into your Blu-ray players or pull it up from your streaming services. After November 1st, this is going to be on Shudder, so that's pretty cool. And watch along with us. But before we kick off the movie, I got to give you the official drink for the evening, which is, drumroll, the Painkiller. This is a classic tiki-style cocktail. I have done nothing fancy with this. I'm just making a really good drink that's already out there in the world. You probably had one before at a bar. What you're going to need, 2 ounces of Jamaican rum. My personal favorite is Appleton Estate 12-year. An ounce of gold rum. Bacardi's fine. 4 ounces of pineapple juice. An ounce of orange juice. 1 ounce cream of coconut. Just a little bit of nutmeg for garnish. And if you want to get fancy, put a pineapple wedge on top of this guy. It's pretty easy to make this one. You're going to take all those ingredients, minus the pineapple wedge and the nutmeg, throw it into a cocktail shaker that's filled with ice. Shake that guy vigorously until everything's nice and chilled. Strain that into a hurricane glass filled with crushed ice, and then you're going to sprinkle a little bit of grated nutmeg,
Yeah.
grated nutmeg over top, and then just stick a pineapple wedge on the side of the glass. It's tropical but delightful. Most of the time when I do a Halloween commentary, I make a drink that's more trick than treat, and this time, fuck it, I'm just making something I want to drink. Painkillers
Well,
are
after you went
delicious.
blind last time.
Oh, it was the worst. I grew hair in places I didn't know could grow hair, and then hair on that hair. Woo! Anyways, yeah, this thing's delicious. I made a double for myself. I'm drinking out my Creature from the Black Lagoon tiki. I've got
I was going to ask.
I've got a little tiny umbrella pick with 3 cherries stuck on it that is holding up my straw paper. Don't worry, I care about the turtles. Fuck, this is delicious. Also, the nutmeg on top makes us feel a little bit festive. It's a little bit fall. What? Just don't fucking argue with me. Just make the drink. It's delicious. You'll love it. And it's been 3 seconds. I'm assuming you've made the drink and are now ready to party. The audience is vigorously nodding yes, Mike. Do you want to count us down to the start of Trick or Treat?
I don't like you telling the audience, I bet you're ready to party.
They are ready to party.
That disturbs me.
Now, hop into that short bus.
They're full of nutmeg now.
Oh, the nuttiest of nutmegs.
Hmm.
Short bus full of nutmegs. Anyway.
It's a horrible thing to say, but I can't quite pinpoint why.
I'm going to count to 3.
Maybe it's all to come.
After I say 3, we're going to press play, and for all you folks at home, the Warner Premiere logo is going to come up specifically. 1, 2, 3.
Whammy wham wham wazzle.
Okay,
So-
am I the only one who at this point always sees that logo and thinks, oh, we're about to watch a DC animated film?
Yep, I think Batman's about to show up any second now.
Yeah, but you always think that.
I'm not in B.
He's still
Yeah.
mine.
I think Booster Gold's going to show up any second now. Thank you very much.
All right, before the action starts, let's do our quick rundown of fun movie facts. Got to think
Trick
of
or
a jingle
treat
for that.
facts. One fact could be a trick. One fact could be a treat.
I made up all these facts. That's the treat. Anyways, this is directed by Michael Dougherty. We all know him, right? He did Krampus, Godzilla, King of the Monsters. He was a writer for X2, X-Men United, Superman Returns, and, surprisingly, Urban Legends Bloody Mary. That one threw me off a little bit.
I
That's
learned that
random. I did
today.
not
That
know
was
that.
incredible.
That is an actual fact. I was surprised.
Directed by Mary Lambert, too. That was her return to horror. Actually, pretty solid. I recommend checking it out.
I gotta track that one down. It seems
Nothing
like
to
something
write
right
home
up my
about.
alley.
It's pretty much Dougherty doing his take on Hello, Mary Lou. So nowhere near as good as that movie, but it's interesting.
Yeah, but I honestly love like when horror sequels get down to like direct-to-video entries that have nothing to do with the original one. They have a soft spot in my heart.
That does get weird then. It's pretty
That's why-
great.
That's why
Anyway.
you own the entire Sometimes They Come Back quadrilogy on Blu-ray.
I don't have that yet. I'll
Yet.
get there.
Notice he says yet.
Yet. Oh, no, I admit I'll have it. It will be mine. I'm not proud of that. I'll own it.
Oh, I'm going to make that mistake. Don't worry.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I'm not defending it at all. This is a bad choice. Okay, let's keep running down these facts. The movie was also written by Michael Dougherty. The cast includes Dylan Baker, Anna Paquin, and Brian Cox, who, is he quite genre royalty? He doesn't have a lot of credits, but he has big credits. He was our first Hannibal Lecter, and he's been in The Autopsy of Jane Doe. Just amazing in that movie. I think that one's going to really build reputation over the years. Plus,
Oh, he's a genre heavy.
Yeah, but he's
I
done
feel like
so many
Prince
things. He's not
Riker
like
is
genre
over the top.
specific. Anyways, our music is by Douglas Pipes. If your last name is Pipes, I feel like you should do music, so that was a good choice for him. Cinematography by Glenn McPherson. He did a bunch of the later Resident Evil movies. I have no comment about that. I'm just saying he's done them. This was edited by Robert Iveson. It was kind of released on December 7th, 2007 at Button-Umathon, but really it didn't actually hit DVD until October 6th, 2009. So that's when pretty much the rest of the world saw it. Budget was $12 million, and the worldwide box office is question mark because, again, it only played movie festivals, so we don't really have a good gauge for how much money it made. I'm sure you could track the unit sales for the DVD, but Box Office Mojo is kind of funky these days, so it was difficult to do that, so I didn't do that. And those were your fun facts. Most of them were probably right, except for my pronunciations.
Dude, has that ever been, like, actually revealed? Like, anybody ever admits, or did anybody working the movie even ever find out exactly why this was pulled from theatrical release at the last minute?
I've only ever seen hearsay, yeah.
Yeah, on the special features and commentary on the Scream Factory disc for the movie, Doherty speculates a little bit. He doesn't say anything super definitive, and they don't have a direct answer, but his comments kind of went along the line of, when they took this to testing, test audiences gave it good-ish reviews, basically like on par for what a horror movie gets. So they knew audiences would pretty much like it if they saw it, but the marketing team had cold feet and they had no idea how to promote the movie because it's a horror comedy and they didn't know what side to lay on to get people into the theater. So they had faith in the product, but they didn't have faith in how to sell the product. Also, apparently WB, when they finally sat down to watch the movie, was very upset at the number of dead children. Like, I don't know how they didn't get that beforehand, because it's obviously a big part of the script. Like, they didn't just throw that in last second. But the studio was very uncomfortable having a theatrical release that showed dead kids and violence around the children. So this got pulled. They put it on the shelf. They didn't know quite what to do with it. And it gathered a reputation over the years just because people saw it at different film fests and really appreciated it. I know for me, like, fuck, when I got my hands on this opening day, like when it came out on DVD, I was so excited because I had been seeing reviews from it forever. Like, it just had like a holy grail reputation, so it was so cool to finally see this thing. Which I think really helped it in the long run. Like, sure, it didn't make box office money, but it had a huge amount of clout coming to DVD. If it didn't have that, I think it probably would have petered out in theaters with just a couple of bucks, and you'd have people on Twitter saying, hey, this movie was underrated, you should watch it.
Yeah,
now,
probably.
like, everyone who's a horror fan knows this movie.
Yeah.
Trick or Treat being the movie WB doesn't want you to see was like its own marketing campaign.
Oh, for sure. It helps that the movie is also very good.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's not made with that direct-to-video quality to it in any way. Like, you actually see a lot of the gore. It was made for, again, $12 million, which is not nothing, even in 2007. Think of it now, like, fuck, every time they make an Insidious, that's made for like $1 million. So this is, in comparison, pretty well funded.
It's actually impressive how much money they were afforded for this, considering it was from Doherty, who just didn't really, other than screenwriting, hadn't done anything. And it's a horror movie when horror was just fucking dead, other than Saw and Paranormal Activity was poking around. Not even yet, actually, but...
And it's presented as a horror comedy, so it's like nothing about this screams box office gold.
And it has like creep show throwbacks with like the comics and shit, so...
Well, more than that, like that last shot we just got of the woman with the lollipop stuffed in her face, the freeze frame on that is such a creep show shot. That's classic creep show right there. And I love the new creep show that's on Shudder, but I would say that shot is more creep show than 90% of the stuff in the new creep show TV show.
Oh yeah, you can see the love for creep show and like horror anthologies in general just seeping out of this. Like, we've gotten so much horror throwback over the past decade or so since Trick or Treat, with stuff like Hatchet. But I love how this is a throwback specifically to old horror anthologies, which is a subgenre of horror that never gets enough love, despite being very big at one point.
I really wonder, if you adjusted the budget for Creepshow for inflation, if it would still top this one. Like, is this the most heavily funded anthology horror movie?
Probably.
I don't know.
Maybe
It's
since
very-
Twilight Zone, the movie.
Oh, that's a good point.
Definitely.
Yeah, that
I
one,
forgot
that
that
one definitely, yeah.
was huge.
Fair point. Also, interesting for this
And
one, even though it's aping like the EC comics, and we have kind of a horror icon to guide us through the stories, it's not the same as, like in Creepshow, where the creeper will be off to the side and they'll have comic panels explaining his narration of what happened, or the Crypt Keeper making puns. This is more like a Pulp Fiction style anthology film, which is
Yeah.
fascinating in its own right, because it really breaks convention of how these things are assembled and your expectations for how they go together.
Yeah, I do wonder if that's another thing that kind of miffed WB, because I know that was a bit of an adjustment the first time I saw it, because it's so unconventional. It feels less like an anthology movie and more like if you took a walk through the world and an anthology movie took place in. It's like an anthology open world game.
That's a good way to describe it. So, in your mind, how does the mythology work? Is this city constantly experiencing weird, kooky Halloween shit each year? Or is it just because Sam is visiting on this particular year that all the Halloween supernatural shit goes down?
I've always kind of just assumed it's Sam's presence, like where he goes, spook follows.
That's kind of how I thought about it. Which is fun because they could just make a bunch of sequels to this and Sam just pops up in a new town and new shit happens. On the other
Yeah.
hand, it's
Yeah,
always fun to have like a Castle Rock situation where it's just one town that's super unlucky and everyone just deals with it.
I know. I've always taken it as like Sam doesn't really. His presence is part of the overall kind of like supernatural magic of the night, or more supernatural happenings can pop up, like the kids at the lake and all that. And of course, then werewolves just exist.
They're just around. It was fun. On the DVD, they talked a little bit about Sam's origins, and they had an idea to show him being born in a pumpkin patch, like ripping his way through a pumpkin. It's a bummer they never were able to actually film any of that or produce like a bunch of concept art, because it sounds like such a neat idea for him to be born. Like each October 31st, he rips himself out of a pumpkin patch.
That would be awesome. Then we have to watch a Big Ass Pumpkin Day.
We should have watched this for Big Ass
Uh,
Pumpkin Day.
I don't know. Pumpkin Carver was pretty goddamn magical.
True.
So can I just say, I love how this is one of the very few Halloween movies where revealing Halloween costumes for women are a plot point. Because Trick or Treat, from beginning to end, isn't just a horror movie. It's a tribute to the holiday of Halloween, and every single aspect of Halloween is represented in this,
Yeah.
even awkward costume shots.
And for this one, too, it goes along with the theme. This is kind of the trick part of it. I mean, obviously, we find out later these girls aren't just like the hot victims that are eventually going to be preyed on by werewolves. They are the werewolves. That's your treat. You don't really care to see the trick part of this so much, but it's the build-up for the more enjoyable reveal later. Plus, Doherty even mentioned he wanted it this way because it toyed with your expectations. When you see a bunch of hot girls in a Halloween shop, you assume they're going to be attacked by some sort of monster and just terrorized throughout the evening. You don't expect them to actually be the ones that are the nightmare monsters out in the dark.
Also, I never noticed Dracula behind him there, foreshadowing.
Eh.
He's all
Why
over the place.
me?
He follows them around.
Speaking of foreshadowing,
Kids
the
taking
amount of
pumpkins.
shit going on in the background in this movie is astonishing.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's fantastic. Yeah, every time I watch this, I pick up on new little things. I'm like, oh, okay, it's that character from story 3. They're over here. That's going on. This timeline must be, point B or C or whatever.
Okay, can we just take a moment to give appreciation to one of the greatest fat kid actors in cinema history? Like, it's this and the kid from The Sandlot.
What about that kid from Matilda?
I think they're all related
He was
too.
pretty good, though. He was a one-hit wonder.
This kid, look at this kid's face. It's like he was molded to be the fat kid in this movie to die. He has to be dead in real life now, right?
They just killed him on set. He was the sacrifice. That's why
I think he
WD
was
didn't want
in
this
that-
getting out.
Tragic hair too.
Oh, there goes the family from the opening segment. It all connects.
I love tracking shit in the background so much. And there's even some unrelated things that happen that are interesting. You could just do a series of movies that take place on this night in this town.
Although as fun as it is, I imagine it's also a pain in the ass because it's like, okay, we already filmed your main scene, but we need you to hang around for like 3 extra days so you can pop into the background randomly.
And there was even more of that if you watch the deleted scenes. There was even more, like, intersecting.
Mm-hmm. But I like the way these all interconnect, just because it hints at a larger world of mischief going on.
Yeah.
Like, if they wanted to, they really could just do sequels of this night on Halloween. Like, we saw a handful of the stories that were going on, but maybe there were 5 other stories that happened in between these. And if we went back, maybe they recast some of the people that were just background extras before. You have that option.
That would be such a cool, like, twist reveal. It's like in the last scene, you just see Anna Paquin in the little Bo Peep outfit walk by.
Remember when Cloverfield 2 was going to be about that?
Yeah.
Like, the camera was going to, like, briefly focus on those other people on the other side of the bridge, and Cloverfield 2 would be from their point of view. So that'd be the thing that connected the 2 movies. For some reason, I find that idea fascinating. Like, people would probably be really annoyed because you're just seeing the same thing from 2 points of view. But it's neat because you get the theme and variation.
Are you always impressed with how quickly Dylan Baker is carving this pumpkin?
He is murdering that pumpkin. I'm very worried about the way he's carving it.
Like, he's just
Well,
done.
he does seem
He's done now.
He does seem to be from a long line of pumpkin carvers. Oh my god, does this take place in the pumpkin carver?
No, he's a carver that went evil. He went rotten.
I was about to say, God damn it, Mike, this is like a Dr. Sleep situation. Like, oh god, he uses the shine to collect the mist. He's taking the steam out of the pumpkins.
I think the old man from Pumpkin Carver is the dad Dylan Baker keeps talking about. Speaking of, have you guys seen any footage of the Halloween Horror Nights trick-or-treat attraction?
Not much. I saw some of the Ghostbusters stuff. I mean, it looks so cool every year. I'm very jealous of all the people that get to experience that stuff.
I watched it a few hours ago, and the house for that is just this house. And whenever you approach, Dylan Baker starts giving his monologue about the rules of Halloween. It's awesome.
One fun fact to point out here, this vomit is actually mostly made out of chocolate and like Kyra syrup. It's because they had to make it edible so the kid could, accidentally swallow some and not die. And in some of the scenes when he's throwing up, they just like put some of the chocolate syrup fake vomit into his mouth and just had him spit it out. At other times, there would be like a classic vomit tube they just, digitally erased later. Plus, this was pretty much the point in the movie where people knew they were allowed to laugh. Like, this is definitely dark comedy. Also, really, if you walked into this blind, you wouldn't know. Yeah. I mean, at this point in the movie, if you watch this fresh and you didn't hear any of the buzz, you wouldn't know it's an anthology film, and you'd be very curious how it all connects. So it's not until a little bit later we really realize these are all separate but connected stories, I think. You're probably waiting for these to somehow, tie all together at the end. So this kind of it works like the Rosetta Stone for the rest of the film. The tone they're really trying to strike.
It's very impressive how they even establish all of the other threads just in this first 5 minutes.
Yeah.
They get a little bit of the kids, a little bit of John Carpenter next door.
Another kind of fun way this breaks the mold for most anthologies. If you look back at most anthology films, they typically bring in like 4 directors and each person handles like 15 minutes of the movie. And they all end up feeling very, very different. Like one story will be supernatural, another one will be a murder mystery, and one will be a revenge tale, stuff like that. Psychological horror. And they're all directed in different ways and filmed in different ways. This one I love because Doherty wrote it all himself. He filmed it all himself. Same cinematographer for everything. It gives it a unity while still making each part varied. So unlike most anthology films where it's only as strong as its weakest entry, this whole thing is about the same level of quality, which is super rare for anthology films.
That's what was great about Creepshow. Like that's a Romero movie from beginning to end. So it makes it even more impressive that Doherty wrote all these stories completely independently of each other.
Yeah.
Like, God, wasn't isn't Dylan Baker's storyline something he wrote in college for like an assignment or something?
I don't know if it's that particular story, but yeah, a lot of the stories evolved that way. Like you wrote one head in a drawer, and it's like, I don't know where to put this. Oh, throw it into this Halloween movie.
From what we've seen of Doherty's horror style with Krampus, I feel like he didn't have to massage those stories afterwards too much to get them to all have the same tone. Like, I
Yeah.
think this is just the tone of Doherty's horror.
Which I'm totally cool with. I wish we got more stuff like this. I would love it if he just kept going through the holidays. So we've got Halloween down, we've got Christmas down. Give us a good old Thanksgiving killing.
Hey, at least we
I'm
got
really
the
hoping.
at least we got the FearNet shorts.
That's true. Those are fun.
I'm really hoping Doherty's going to make a big return to horror eventually.
Well, he did say he's willing to do a Trick or Treat 2 if Legendary was still on board. A couple
Yeah, it
of years
seems like-
ago, Legendary made a big thing saying, hey, we want to do Trick or Treat 2. It's announced after Godzilla. It's totally happening. But then there was a regime change, and now the leadership is different, so they may not have the same priorities. Probably don't have the same priorities.
Yeah, Legendary is very different now, unfortunately.
Yeah.
They're not as fun as they used to be. Still make good stuff, don't get me wrong, but yeah, they don't. I mean, Trick or Treat 2 was announced fucking 4 years ago.
It was about that. It was forever ago.
It was long before he even got attached to Godzilla.
Yeah, that was our
Okay.
first thought when that was announced. Like, oh, that's awesome. Oh, that's going to push back Trick or Treat 2.
I could have sworn, I might be remembering wrong. I thought he had just been announced for that, and they're like, whenever he gets done with Godzilla, then it'll be Trick or Treat 2, which is why we knew it wasn't coming anytime soon.
No, it was definitely
Regardless,
beforehand.
still not happening anytime soon. Why don't we get Dylan Baker in more things?
I love Dylan Baker. He's so underrated.
I'm very frustrated he never got to become the Lizard.
Hey, they brought back Simmons. There is nothing saying Marvel cannot bring in Dylan Baker as Kurt Connors.
It's true.
I fuck it. Next time they do a Spider-Verse movie, just have him be the Lizard.
He looks exactly the same. I don't think Dylan Baker can age. I think he's perpetually 47.
I was gonna say, I looked his age up earlier. I think he's 60.
You know what Dylan Baker looks like in this movie?
No.
Douglas from Falling Down.
Oh, God, he
Yeah.
does.
So there we go.
Oh,
Dylan Baker is, in fact, 60 years old as of October 7th. Happy late birthday, Dylan Baker.
Doesn't look a day over middle-aged.
True.
It's his blessing and his curse. He's got like Leslie Nielsen disease, but at a younger point.
This reminds me of what I was going to say earlier about the Halloween Horror Nights attraction. The best part is that at a certain point, you can go down a hallway and a door opens up and a dude dressed like Brian Cox will yell and shake a bat at you and then go back inside.
Neat.
Terrifying.
Also, I never noticed this before, but the gnome helping in the background with his own little shovel.
I'm like, what are you talking about, Mike? Is he holding down the tarp or something?
That's his murder gnome.
What a weird joke that is.
So Doherty mentions on the commentary, the idea for this movie was each short would be a different phase of development of the holiday. So this is when you're a child and trick-or-treating is dependent on your parent. They're the one who has to take you out to trick-or-treat. They carve the pumpkin with you. They're basically making you do all the traditions and teaching you about this stuff, but you're at their whims. Then we get on to the story with the kids trick-or-treating down by the quarry. And that's, the first time you get to be independent on Halloween. And it probably means instead of just trick-or-treating, you're going out like egging houses and throwing toilet paper because no one's around to tell you that's bad. Then we get the girls who are in their 20s. They're partying out in the woods, also eating people. I don't know how that connects to the theme, but they are eating people. But that's the idea. That's like when you get to the Halloween party, and it's not just about getting candy, it's more about having sex. And then by the time you get to Old Man Krieg, hey, good timing, he just got tackled in the background. That's like the Scrooge level of Halloween. It's when you're an old person who doesn't get to party anymore, who's not getting laid on Halloween. You're just waiting for kids to come around so you can throw them a couple pieces of candy and tell them to go away. Like you have lost the enthusiasm for the holiday.
Now, once the candy and ass dries up, what's the point?
Exactly. You become a
My
Krieg.
opinion on everything.
It's candy and ass. I don't get it. I don't want it.
So I'm obsessed with this kid's transparent gorilla mask.
I really
think
love
he
that
made
mask.
himself.
It's a cool mask. I love that you can just hear Krieg screaming his head off and no one notices. Uh, anyways,
He's just
I was
masturbating to his photos of short buses again.
when you look at vintage Halloween costumes, they're terrifying. Stuff from like the 10s and 20s, just absolutely frightening. And I always get bums like, oh, modern day masks aren't as cool. But that gorilla mask, that has something. Like if there were pictures of you in that mask and your kids found them in like 40 years, they'd be like, oh, you were terrifying back in the Halloween of 2019.
Well, the important part of a scary Halloween costume that old costumes do perfectly is you can't look like the thing you're going as. You have to go as a hobo's idea of what that looks like.
That's a very fair
A
point.
sack has to be involved in some way.
Too many current day modern costumes look very slick and mass produced because they are. Like each one comes out the same. They're an assembly line that just makes these things over and over again. Those old costumes, if you look at the ones from like the 20s and 30s, like there was some bored mother in a house sewing this thing like, I'm going to make this scary as fuck. And she was right. She did a good job, but like no other person in the world can make that same costume, which is part of the charm. Like there's just some sort of weird personal insanity and eccentricity going on to make those that you couldn't buy in a shop.
Oh, my personal favorite era of costume is the 60s with their costumes that are just billboards for the thing you're going as rather than an actual just a t-shirt that says Spider-Man on it.
I'd wear
There's
that.
something so charmingly scrappy about that.
So to back
Also,
up just a
how good
second.
is this-
Oh, go ahead.
I'm just going to say, how good is that fake out?
That was a great fake
Every
out. I
time
want to
watch
comment
it,
on
it
that.
still gets-
Two things. One, the woman who answers the door, Doherty claims she is at the werewolf party at the end of the movie. I didn't spot her, but apparently she's like one of the extras walking around with the werewolves, so she's one of them.
Makes sense.
Two, when they're
hot dog
doing when they're doing the head stabbing part, apparently Doherty thought it'd be a good idea to fake leaked publicity stills of Dylan Baker murdering that child with the knife. So they apparently like rigged some stuff up where it looks like he's killing the kid with the knife, and then they were going to leak those as publicity photos, like someone took them and stole them, put them online just to generate buzz for the movie. Until the studio found out about it and was royally pissed. Like apparently he got chewed out for it. Which, in his defense, how many times have you flipped through like a Fangoria and then been like, "Hey, here's Satanic Panic. Here's like 3 gore shots from that movie, so you know the fates of like 3 characters."
It was a
My
great
thing is-
idea.
I love the fake out. Like, get me. I would totally eat that up and be like, I know what's happened to that kid. What?
And then if you saw that,
That's-
that joke would have been even funnier.
And it's
Exactly.
plausible deniability. Like, oh, parents are mad? At what? That's not in the movie. WB's hands are clean.
Gotcha. Although I will say, the way it's structured right now, it goes along with that trick-or-treat theme. Again, the trick is on us. We think the dad's the killer. He's going to kill his kid. No, it's just the severed head. Minor. That's the treat. Also, most of the other stories are supernatural. And part of the trick portion is showing us things that make us believe it might not be supernatural. That's the one exception, that one story with the father and son carving a pumpkin. That one's just macabre. So that one feels slightly out of place because of it, but they are emphasizing the turn more so than the other stories. So it balances out.
I love the slow build to the supernatural that like doesn't really begin super coming into play until the end of this story.
Yeah, we see Krieg get tackled in the background, but we don't know what that's about. That could just be like a home invader.
Yeah.
So I love Rhonda's aesthetic so much.
It always
Just wanna
bothers
be-
me. How much? I mean, pumpkins are expensive.
Eh, mean, some places are just giving away pumpkins. You can buy them for an okay amount. You go to
What
a
a place
pumpkin
to be
patch and
alive.
collect them your own. Hell, at work today, I left and there was like 8 pumpkins just sitting out by the front door. I could have just taken them and ran. I think they got
Okay.
them for an office pumpkin carving party, and then not everyone carved a pumpkin.
Could have taken him and ran. So, just knowing the end of this story, is it always amazing to you that Dylan Baker fucking was getting down with this chick?
I know. In his cloak, like he's at a fucking eyes wide shut party.
Look, he's got dreamy eye contacts in. I guess to go along with this
Also,
previous point, though, of this being the non-supernatural story, we get a second trick here because we notice that Dylan Baker isn't supernatural. All the other stories, like, we had to switch to supernatural at their climax. His isn't. But he gets a second chance to come back around and flip us out because he's not a vampire like he's presenting to be. The trick is he's actually not supernatural, and then he gets murdered by the supernatural. So it
I
all
werewolf,
cosmically
the arch
balances.
enemies of vampires.
I don't think people appreciate the brilliance of the switcheroo joke of this entire segment. Aha, it's
It
not a
really
vampire,
toys-
it's just a serial killer. Werewolves
Yeah.
exist.
Well, that's something amazing that this movie gets away with. Every story has a gotcha, but it never feels like you're getting Tales from the Crypt plot twists with every story.
It feels
It's very
natural,
organic.
yeah.
Tales from the Crypt, I love it, but the joke with those is you always know how it's going to end halfway through, and you're just waiting for karma to take place and punish the wicked. In this movie, you get to the end and like, oh, well, they hinted they were werewolves, but it didn't make sense to me they'd actually be werewolves. I didn't guess that. Or the vampire would just be a serial killer and a guy we knew before. Like, on a lot of them, the twists aren't set up in a way where you're like, this is so obvious, just get to the point. Which I love.
I mean, you could still run.
I just noticed the victim next to her is wearing a werewolf mask. On top
I've
of his
never
head.
noticed that before.
So many fun details. Also, do you guys happen to have Halloween parties like this in your towns or anywhere near you?
No, I want to live in this town.
Agreed. I'm very jealous. I have never been
Fucking-
to a place where there's just people on the street having a like smallish town good time with that many people partying on the road.
Halloween
It's
movies
very
have the ideal fucking Halloween. It's like everybody lives in a Ray Bradbury novel and comes to Halloween movies.
Exactly. Mine's like if I want to go downtown, it's just going to be a bunch of people in the clubs partying really hard, or a bunch of people in costumes getting drunk in a bar. There's not going to be anyone actually on the streets. It's like fucking 20 degrees here. They're not going to go outside and dance. I'm very bummed out about this because fuck. Just imagine you could put on your Michael Myers costume and go have like an outdoor drink and rave. Hell yeah.
And if you got the Myers mask on, you're not obligated to talk to anybody.
Also that. It's part of the reason I like that costume so much. Also, many pockets.
Here's a question. Do you think like right before maybe filming started or somewhere during post production, someone went up to Doherty and went, you know, it's pronounced Soloway, right?
What?
Then he stabbed that man. Now, I am
Tell no
totally on
tales.
this team. I am on team Sam Hain. Fuck Solway. Sam Hain just sounds so fucking evil.
Well, it just
That's,
sounds like a dude down the street who sells drugs to kids.
Sam Hain, that's just the name of the Ghostbusters villain, right? The real Ghostbusters villain?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
What's sad is I've seen this movie so many times. It wasn't until this week's rewatch it clicked that Sam is short for Sam Hain. I always thought he
Hey.
was randomly named Sam. I always thought that was really odd.
Holy shit, that transition. Wasn't that beautiful?
It's gorgeous. Also,
Dear
this
God.
very excites me. This excites me. Everybody shut the fuck up. Not the short bus, but the reference of one of the kids on the short bus. There he is, lead Doi Doi, the vampire. Because I know that was mean of me, but still, lead Doi Doi. So, he
fuck?
is, I'm sorry.
I
He
got
is.
randomly really mean.
I have to make myself look bad. He is totally, I don't care what anybody says, dressed like the kid in Lady in White. And he is explicitly a reference to Lady in White.
Now I have something extra to look forward to, and I watched that this week. Couple things. I like in this flashback, typically flashbacks, they almost go for more of a, I don't know how to describe it, I'm colorblind, like a pastelish type look, like everything's, they have a certain flashback look. This one doesn't go that route. This one is more traditional, like nostalgic Halloween daylight look. That's how you know it's past, because it's like the one part of the movie that's in daylight. It looks very crisp, like not sharp or anything, just like the air is crisp, the leaves are falling kind of crisp.
It's fairy tale Halloween. It's fairy tale October, like something from a Bradbury novel.
Yeah.
That's what I kind of love about it. It's the juxtaposition with how fucked up this is.
Very
That's
true.
the only daylight in the movie, which gives it like even more of a dreamlike quality. Like this is the one time we break away from the night.
Mm-hmm. And it'd be hard to tell otherwise because, I mean, they're driving through fields and stuff. There's not a lot of technology around to clue you in on if this is current or past. Even buses haven't changed all that much, apparently, over the years. Like, mine doesn't have seatbelts. My bus I went to school in looks pretty much like this one.
That is really weird. School buses have been exactly the same since, like, the 40s.
Yeah. The big difference here is, like, the costumes the kids are wearing. One, when I went to school, I got yelled at for wearing a Blues Brothers costume because I had sunglasses and a hat on inside of a school. That was too much costume. So I had to take the hat and sunglasses off, so I looked like just an asshole in a weird-sized suit. These kids are, like, wearing full costumes. This is how I dreamed of Halloween as a kid. Like, I would get to dress up as Dracula and run around.
I love that Dracula mask.
It's so good.
It's like a zombie Dracula. It's very strange.
Well, we got the weird Dracula. We got the kid in the back who just has on a paper bag with terrifying Happy Meal teeth. This one is a weird, horrible clown.
Oh, the clown freaks me the fuck out.
There's Satan in the background. I also just noticed there's like hair randomly stapled to this bag.
So I love how Satan stays in character.
He's a big man.
Also, it's so weird to think that it's Danny Houston driving this bus.
So for filming this, again, this was $12 million, which is a lot for what's essentially a direct-to-video movie. But still not a huge amount. It's not like The Matrix Reloaded, where you have enough money to just shut down a highway and do whatever you want and blow up 40 cars. So for this one, it's actually a really cool mix of a matte painting in the background for like the quarry stuff. They had a miniature bus for the sinking part, and they drove a real bus filled with dummies off of a cliff to get it falling. And then they melded all those things together basically with CGI. And boy, that shot is fantastic. It looks seamless. Everything comes together so well. It all looks beautiful. That and his amazing use of CGI. Like, the stuff they did there really sells that effect. It looks 100% real to me.
That's the kind of melding you want to see
I
with
would
visual
never
effects.
God, could you imagine Michael Dougherty? This is his first movie, and he has to pull off a shot like that. Today, we're driving a bus off of a cliff. Hope nobody does.
That's really the amazing thing. If you watch this movie, the camera is almost like Guillermo Navarro style. Like, it moves around quite a bit. We just saw it do that transition from the bottom of the quarry up to the top of the quarry and change times. There are so many points where this camera is kind of snaking around and looking at things. Really, that's just hard to stage, and it's hard to work around.
Yeah.
And for a first-time director, it's amazing that he makes it work that well without it either being too showy or without it feeling clunky.
It's astonishing that this movie, in general, is from a first-time director. It's one of the greatest premieres of a horror director I've ever seen.
Yeah, this looks like someone directed this who had been, in charge of like 40 other movies.
Yeah.
Also, fun fact,
weird.
This top quarry area they're standing on, that was real. Like, they had a location. And then it was too expensive to find like a real quarry, and they had child actors, so they couldn't just drive them out to a place because they had limited time to film with them. So most of the stuff at the bottom of the quarry is just like a set with a bunch of CGI or fog filling it in, so you couldn't see like the green screens or anything expanding it out. And just a couple of pieces of set dressing to really make you feel like the bottom of the quarry was as big as it should be. And some really good matte paintings too are used in this movie. We should point out matte paintings more often because I feel like they get not enough recognition.
Oh God, matte paintings are a lost cinematic art.
Yeah.
Like there used to be a fucking trade in that shit. You could make bank being a matte painter. Like,
Wait,
that
there's still
fascinates me.
digital matte paintings. One of my favorites. So remember in the first Hellboy where they're going to the island with Rasputin who's trying to open the portal? Like the overhead shot of that island through the storm cloud, that's like an all digital matte painting apparently. And they just zoomed in on that and added a couple of like flashing effects. So they're still out there. Matte painters can still do their job. It's just changed.
What frustrates me about matte paintings, kind of as a cinematic language, is other than like hardcore cinephiles or film nerds or people in the industry, like old school people in the industry.
Wait, hold on. There's the Viking lady.
Yeah, my girl.
Actually, now that I've seen Viking Lady again, I can agree, Jamie.
I just want to hang out with her and see what she's all about.
I feel like she would protect me from bullies.
It's true, yeah. She'd be like your personal China.
Oh shit. What's the name? Susan Strong. She'd be my Susan Strong from Adventure Time.
She's got the hat.
I'm sorry, Mike. We interrupted your talk about matte paintings.
Oh, yeah. Other than like certain circles, like within film, there's a lack of appreciation for the art of a matte painting because it's such a also that was the giant baby from 13 Ghosts, by the way.
Oh my god, it was.
Somebody cares, and his name is Mike Doherty.
Because of course Doherty's a fan of that movie.
Yeah, there's a lot of fans of that movie. 13 Ghosts has a good little following right now.
13 Ghosts, I'm so glad people are now finally appreciating it fully, because 13 Ghosts is fucking fabulous.
Look, I'll throw my hat in the fucking ring for 13 Ghosts. I'll fight for that movie.
The Jackal.
This premium early 2000 schlock.
It is! I love that so much. We're never going to let Mike finish his rant about it.
Never. Now I'm just thinking about the opening fucking junkyard scene from 13 Ghosts and how awesome it is.
Fuck, that's good. We should just do a commentary for 13 Ghosts.
Matthew Lillard's spine against the wall. It's like, he banged him. 13 Ghosts is awesome.
Matthew Lillard died for our ghostly sins.
But yes, the underappreciated artistry of matte paintings.
Oh, yes. But it's what's interesting about matte paintings as a cinematic art form is it's born just out of cinema, and no one kind of like addresses that fact. Like, there's a lot of things that only exist in cinema, but matte paintings are such I think, an interesting melding of traditional arts and cinematic storytelling and moving pictures.
I was going to say, to bump into that slightly, I mean, they're a big part of traditional theatrical plays, too. I mean, there's always that backdrop that has to sell the rest of the picture. But, I mean, that's the precursor to most movies. I mean, hell, if you look at a lot of movies in the 20s, they were just stage plays they filmed. And the actors were all stage actors who were like, what, I just do it in front of a camera now? All right, let's act big.
And even with that, it's like movie matte paintings have a completely different set of requirements. Like, that shit has to move with the camera. It has to be of the same quality from like multiple angles and different proximities to the painting. Like, that I think is really impressive. Make something look photorealistic up close and in a long shot.
It's an in-camera CGI effect. That's the brilliance of it.
With a theatrical play, they kind of expect, like, it's a curtain that's painted really well, and it moves with the wind or when actors are leaving the scene. In a movie, if you did that, people would probably roll their eyes a little bit. They expect a different immersion factor. Like, it's supposed to try and sell you a little bit more on the reality.
And there's the matte paintings that started popping up in kind of the 70s and the 80s that had sections of the painting that were screens to kind of blend in between live video feeds for in-camera effects and then the matte painting and make it all seamless so you can't actually see that there's just kind of a cropped area in the matte painting that's projecting an image.
Now, didn't Coppola do that with Dracula?
Yep, Dracula had nothing but in-camera effects and mostly using matte paintings.
Dracula did like every trick in the book. Like there would be miniatures, there'd be giant scale things, there'd be like doubles. There were so many cool tricks happening in Dracula. One of my favorites. God, I love that movie so much.
Same.
There is a part where Keanu Reeves is like shaving and the walls look like they're closing in on him. And they accomplish this by just having people behind the walls, moving the camera around, and then moving the walls closer by manpower as he's shaving. So you get that sense of claustrophobia because they were literally just squeezing him into a box as like the camera rolled around him and Keanu stepped through his marks.
My favorite is probably the train, where it has
that's such a good one.
Where they have the miniature train in the background, this matte painting that has like a back projection for Dracula's eyes, and then this giant version of Jonathan's journal up in front of the camera. Oh, that is amazing to see it all come together.
Right? And it's weird because you watch it now and you're so used to them being able to just throw that stuff together on a computer, you don't think much of it.
Yeah.
But if you stop and hold your attention to it for a minute, you're like, wait a minute, that's a fucking gigantic journal. Like, I wish there was more behind the scenes stuff of all the tricks they used to make that, to make people appreciate what a fucking hard thing that must have been. It's insane the level of work they put into pretty much every scene of that movie to sell all these things.
It's such a testament to the artistry of that film that there can be so much wrong with that movie, and it's still an incredible experience.
I get mad when all people want to say is, oh, Keanu Reeves sounds like a surfer dude. It's like, yeah, well, who fucking cares? Look at that giant train. Look at that giant journal, or like Gary Oldman's Dracula. That's all you need. Who cares if Keanu Reeves doesn't nail the accent? Which everyone in that movie has a fucked up accent, so I feel like that was intentional almost.
Well, Dracula is a testament to the fact that you can actually make a pretty solid movie out of a bad script.
Yeah.
It's true.
It's like that and The Fifth Element.
Also true.
This is a very cruel prank, and I'm very glad these other kids die.
These kids have it coming. This is one of my favorite things, recurring things in EC Comics. The innocent aren't necessarily protected from bad things happening to them, but they will always get their revenge. Cosmically, something will come back around and avenge an innocent if they are harmed. They might get harmed. They probably will get harmed. But it's going to come back twofold on the person who instigated the harm, which is pretty nice. We live in a world where, bad things happen for no reason to good people all the time. And it's nice to think, hey, maybe there's a version of this where those people eventually get their comeuppance.
And that in itself is scary in its own way. Like, as much as it's kind of comforting, like that's something that's super in the old EC comics. The idea that the universe will not protect you, the universe just wants to hurt. And if it sees an opportunity to have a morally justified reason to hurt someone, it'll take it. But you're still screwed.
Yeah, it won't go back and fix you up. This isn't like Tales from the Crypt. I'm sorry. Are You Afraid of the Dark? It's not going to be like, oh, everything's fine now. It's fine. I do get mad when that happens in movies, though, like where at the end of the film snaps his fingers and all the dead characters come back and all the damage has been undone. I think it's fine for children, but as an adult, I'm like, nope, that person was fucked because the universe is cruel. They're just always fucked.
I know Rhonda has it pretty good after this story.
She got tricked, and the only people that wanted to be her friends hurt her. Like, I feel like psychologically for that character, this was a huge blow.
She's best friends with Sam now, though. Yeah,
but Sam has to go away. He's a 1 month kind of guy. I'm going by Neil Gaiman rules, and current day culture for Halloween is 1 month of worship. Sam gets 1 month of strength in America.
The shorts say otherwise.
Now,
He's wandering around during different holidays, giving off mischief.
Yeah, that's mostly just thanks to Henry Selick and Nightmare Before Christmas.
Sure, why not?
Wouldn't that be a hoot? They finally get around to doing a sequel to this movie, but it's a crossover with Nightmare Before Christmas.
Now just Sam and Christmas Land.
The Sam and Jack Skellington just hanging out and trying to figure out what the fuck they want to do. It'd be like a
There's an
young gun
entire
meets the old guard.
I just want to see a recreation of What's This, but it's silent and Sam is just killing everyone he encounters.
Just poking dead birds with a candy cane.
Poking dead birds with a candy cane sounds like a song.
Another hobo song from Tom Waits.
I was about to say it's a Tom Waits song.
When I was poking dead birds down in Christmas land.
A Boxcar Christmas, the new album from Tom Waits.
Send that
back to the
postcard to that hooker in Minneapolis.
Going back to the prank for a second, I know this is like my 2019 brain thinking, but this does seem like an awful lot of work for a prank they're not filming.
That's fair. I mean, this was a 2007 movie. 2006, I guess, would be the filming date. So the concerns for filming everything and throwing it up on like YouTube or whatever, not really there, which is very refreshing, honestly. To not see a movie that has to explain cell phones or going viral or kids being obsessed with phones, fuck, that gets tiresome.
It's nice that Evil did not go online with this film.
Yeah, we just had a horror movie come out about a killer app that counts down how many days you have left to live. Like, we don't... Fuck. I understand technology is a good use for terror, but we don't always need that. Oh, I love the sound effects here. Just the squelching noises. Ah.
They died brutally.
Oh, it's so bad. This is one of those exceptions where normally I like seeing the gore. This works so much better when you just hear these children being god-awfully murdered, and you just see Rhonda do her badass walk away, and hey, it's our buddy Sam.
I love that fucking Laurie Strode shot of her walking towards the camera.
Still got our lit pumpkin protected. Game knows game. Sam moves on.
I love how Sam just making sure everything's going right.
Yeah, just checking in
Those
on
kids
those zombie
die.
kids.
Cool. Also, all those jack-o'-lanterns are a fire hazard right now.
The leaves are wet. So
Okay, they're styrofoam.
this is a dorky thing. I don't have plans for Halloween tomorrow. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I could go to a bar and just hang out, but that sounds boring. But if I drive down to the Apple Valley Zoo, they have a thing where each night they have several thousand pumpkins they light up, and you just walk through the zoo and several thousand pumpkins line your trail. I might just spend Halloween looking at pumpkins.
Do it. That sounds delightful.
It sounds like a scene from this movie. Like, you just go through and be like, oh shit, there's a pumpkin carving of the Wizard of Oz. There's 50 scary face pumpkins. There's just 100 pumpkins stacked in a line on fire. That seems fun.
Why do I feel like the pumpkins are going to lead you to the center of the zoo and there's going to be a gorilla with clown makeup on, conducting the whole thing? This is all set up for the animal kingdom getting its Halloween revenge on man.
Jamie, you've made
at the right years.
Jamie, you've made a really weird Silent Hill movie, is all I know. Just you
Or
have
the
to fight
best
your way
Silent
to the
Hill
center
movie.
of the zoo, and there's a gorilla in Joker paint just conducting it all.
No, he was
The
behind it
gorilla's a
all.
metaphor for your dead wife.
Dead. The teddy bear.
The teddy bear fucking cracks me up every time.
Oh shit! I
Huh?
forgot to pay attention. I forgot to pay attention to the woman in the cat suit.
I might still see her. Oh, I think I
Maybe.
just saw her in the background.
So I like Wonder Woman there.
Because yeah, most of the girls in the scene are pretty young. Now I'm just watching background extras. Who are you?
Same.
Reveal yourself.
This is so sad.
No,
Oh.
he had some more next to bite.
So, fun fact I forgot to mention. Apparently, in the original script, if we can jump back to the previous segment, the kids were going to be already dead, and they were attempting to remind Rhonda that she was also dead, apparently. It was going to be like one of those, the twist was that, hey, no, we were on the bus. We're those kids, I think, or something along those lines. They didn't go into super detail. Apparently that was dropped in the writing phase, though, when they realized a couple other movies already kind of had that plot twist, and Doherty was like, no, we got to spice this up. Which I'm glad
That
he
would
did.
have been really cliche.
Yeah, that would have
so-
been lame.
Hooray for first drafts. You can always get better.
It also doesn't give you an awesome kill at the end.
Another fun little fact for stuff we've already gone way past because I'm super behind on my notes. If you see someone screaming in this movie, there's a good chance it was filmed for real. Because apparently Doherty just likes to hide behind trees and then jump out at cast people while they're filming them secretly. Like there's one part where Anna Paquin bumps into Dylan Baker and she screams. And apparently that was what happened. Doherty was behind a tree, didn't tell her he was hiding there, and he just popped out at her. And she screamed. They filmed that, and that was the take they used. But if they used any more of the take, it would have just been her laughing and like yelling at him for pranking her. Apparently, he did that several times throughout the movie. That was just how he like got his kicks.
What's really weird is when he did that while filming Godzilla.
Yeah, just
Roar.
I'm a tiny lizard. Another fun fact: now that we're in the werewolf camp, the trees you can see around there, this is all a set. They were going to film on location, but it snowed in like Vancouver and it was just too cold, so they did it on a set. There was a snowstorm that actually went through. Oh, that hot dog man, he's so dead. There's a snowstorm that destroyed a bunch of trees in the park they were going to use, so it was unstable. They couldn't film there. They did the set, and they had to borrow trees. This is real, I swear to God. They had to borrow trees from the movie Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer.
Oh, it's from that scene?
Yes, these trees were stolen from that movie and that scene because they needed trees.
That's awesome.
So there you go.
Also, I honestly like how it's a set with fake trees. I don't know, I like fake movie wood sets. Especially for horror stuff. I don't know why, because real woods suck. Movie woods are the best.
Yeah, they're too organized. A lot of them are like people tore all this down a while ago and then planted nice rows of trees, and it doesn't look right.
Bullshit. That is just the woods from Mortal Kombat.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the problem. Fun fact here. So right now we're obviously listening to Marilyn Manson's cover of Sweet Dreams. It wasn't this song originally. So when they first filmed this, it was shit. I should have written down the artist, but it was a song called Fever, and Doherty filmed it to that. That's what everyone's dancing to. A song called Fever. Thomas Tull from Legendary, he listened to it and he's like, man, this is not aggressive enough. And he told Doherty, find something more edgy, something like more extreme. So they went back and he like put the Manson track in, and they ended up loving it eventually, but it wasn't their first thought. That wasn't like their idea of what this scene should be.
Really? I mean, it looks like it's filmed to it.
That's the amazing thing. Like, it works so well. Also, this werewolf scene. Ugh.
Oh, I love the skin ripping. Oh, that's so good. And what I love is also, it's like it takes one of the transformations from a dream sequence in the shitty American Werewolf in Paris movie, where she like rips off the skin. There's werewolf fur underneath from that dream sequence. Like, what if we just did that for real?
I like how they don't try and do the Robotine transformation sequence.
Yeah,
like they're just ripping off their skin, which also is so gross when you see them peel off skin like fishnets and just throw it against a tree.
There's nothing sexy about it, though. It's just so gross.
And it's such
weird.
A good, simple, practical effect. Also, Anna Paquin with these contacts and fangs. What an iconic horror look.
Oh, yeah.
I know.
Like,
that's a fucking poster look.
I just want to see her walking around like that in a movie.
That should be, yeah. Fuck. Oh, that'd be amazing. That should be the poster right there. Her just baring her fangs like, what big teeth you have.
Oh, so
also,
good.
I love Sam there, like, I saw boobs.
Just chilling out.
It's the same effects company that did Underworld, right?
I believe so. I think
what's amazing is like the Underworld werewolves are awesome, but I'm really impressed. These look completely different. They're a weird melding of different styles.
Well, these werewolves are like all practical. Like they had just a wolf puppet.
Yeah.
But they're very limited too because we don't have to see these wolves move at all. So they just had to make like a really good model.
Mostly their heads.
Which I also want to point out, anytime you see this kind of shit, there are people that actually have to sit in a studio somewhere planting hairs into a werewolf mannequin like one at a time from like a yak or something. It's insane. Like the amount of craftsmanship that goes into these things really is underappreciated. It's stunning how hard they work to make something that's on screen for a grand total of 30 seconds in clips, not even just one continuous shot.
So that's why it always frustrates me when people are super dismissive towards like bad horror movies, like bad genre film in general. It's like even to produce a turkey, so much blood, sweat, and tears has to be poured into the movie, mostly by people who were not responsible for the quality at all.
That's the bummer. Like, taken piece by piece, most movies have a lot of great things going on. If you watch them as a whole, unfortunately, as we all do, they just don't combine as well as they should. And it sucks because all the people that did amazing work kind of get lumped in with the people that fuck things up.
Yeah, well, that's the problem with now, where you can just do like Adobe effects and it looks like shit, but you can just have, the director do it like in his basement on a laptop. Or before, it's like there was even the shittiest direct-to-video like horror movie circa like 1992 is incredible with the artistry that goes into it.
I'm looking at you, the video dead.
Exactly. Think of Jacko. I'm gonna bring up fucking Jacko.
Do it, Mike. Preach.
That goddamn puppet man thing with the killer was. It still looks cool because fucking craftsmen went into building that goddamn costume.
That was back in the day where, regardless of budget or quality, there was a 50-50 chance Tom Savini was working on your. So I was thinking earlier today, God, could you imagine being the costume designer for Green Book? Or even like the production designer? Like, it takes so much hard work to make a period piece.
Oh, yeah.
And it's for that movie. It's like, oh, cool.
On the other hand, Shape of Water, same situation. Like, you have a director who's very specific on detail, and everyone loves your movie, so they also pay attention to it. So you never know how it's going to work. Speaking of which, though, really pay attention next time you watch Shape of Water, how good the costumes are on that movie. Like, it's very distracting because there's Doug Jones as a real fishman. Like, they might have just turned Doug Jones into a fishman.
They did.
But there's also all this amazing costume work that looks perfectly period accurate and does such a good job accentuating who the character is. They did an astounding job on that movie.
Everybody looks like they were drawn. Also, I totally forgot about Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island popping up there for a moment.
Yep.
What I love about this scene is I think at this point the Showtime rotisserie infomercial had been long gone from TV screens. Which makes me feel like
he's using. This is all ancient technology.
True, but I just feel like this means I'm a kindred spirit with Michael Dougherty because the Showtime rotisserie barbecue infomercial was my jam back in the day.
I mean, you just said it and forget it, Mike.
I watched that thing on a loop, hours on end, on my shitty little TV in my bedroom growing up.
Couple of fun facts about that video montage of Krieg watching TV. One of the clips they got, they couldn't use the original audio, so they had James Marsden come in and record over it. So Cyclops has a cameo in this movie.
Awesome.
Because Michael Dougherty was just tight with the original X-Men and all those guys. Obviously, we already talked about Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island, a classic. But there was this wasn't in this segment. Actually, there was a very brief video clip of the house on Haunted Hill. But earlier, there was an audio segment featuring narration from Vincent Price that they included just so they could have the right to say Vincent Price was in the film.
And Dougherty did the same thing with the Godzilla. Vincent Price is actually the voice of King Ghidorah.
Oh, fantastic. Another fun fact. I only have so many fun facts. I got to throw them out when I can. Brian Cox had a lot of input on his character. Like, he came in, read the script, loved it, and apparently had his own ideas for some of this stuff that didn't quite match Dougherty. He's the one who suggested the look for Krieg. He said he wanted to make him look like John Carpenter, so this is what they ended up with. Because Dougherty heard that and like,
that was Cox's fucking pull?
Cox said, I want to look like John Carpenter, and Dougherty's like, I'm not going to turn that down. So that's why he has that long hair and that look. Because he decided, I want to cosplay as Carpenter in this horror movie.
I always love how every time you kind of read an interview with Cox is the exact opposite of anything you'd expect him to be.
You would think he'd be so pretentious, but this guy's amazing.
Yeah, and he's super into shit like this. That's what I always love.
Yeah, like he's a fan. He appreciates the material. He enjoys what he does. Brian Cox is the best. That dude kicks ass.
That man is delighted that he is technically Hannibal Lecter.
Manhunter's a weird situation for me because that
What a
movie is
sentence.
directed better than Red Dragon, but Red Dragon also has like the fans Hannibal Lecter inside of it. So it's tough for me to look back at Brian Cox and go, yeah, that's good.
They're almost too different to me. Like I think Red Dragon's probably the better movie. I love Manhunter, but they're so different. Manhunter's like a
They're
dream.
so different. It's so weird because they're the same plot, but if you watch those two movies and you told someone like, oh, they're based on the same material, they'd be like, what? They probably wouldn't even recognize, like, oh, this is the same story. I wouldn't, which is insane because it is literally the same plot they're adapting. Michael Mann owns Manhunter. That is a Michael Mann movie to the max.
Yeah,
And it's
Manhunter.
fantastic.
Yeah, Manhunter is a like surreal, like dream music video.
Oh,
It really is. I love Manhunter.
I would say as far as comparing Cox to Hopkins, like you were saying, it's almost too different. They're really not the same character because Cox is not Hannibal Lecter in that movie. He's a dude named Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah. Lector. For some reason, they
Lector.
spelled it weird as shit in that. Lector. They did
Like-
OR.
Well, they gave him different
Like
motivation
in the
and
context
everything,
of
so
that
like
movie,
literally.
he's a dude.
Yeah.
And that was Cox's
really
thing.
just
Like
do
he
a
wanted to be
commentary
as
for Manhunter sometime.
normal. He just wanted to be as normal as possible with the performances, which is why it stands out on its own, separated from Hopkins. But they're so completely different. Like that Lecter has none of the supervillain of book Lecter.
Which works in that one. He strikes me as so evil. Like he just seems like a vindictive asshole.
Yeah, well, he was more based on fucking the Coed, no, not the Coed killer, serial killer name.
BGK,
No,
Bundy?
the Zodiac. Ed
Michael Mann
Gein.
actually knew the Zodiac.
I believe that. Oh, we've already come to the conclusion that David Fincher was the Zodiac. No,
All along. He also has a
the other
basement. He's
famous
trying to
killer
confess.
that's not Jeffrey Dahmer, Ted Bundy.
About Ted. Oh, there we go.
Oh.
Sorry, okay.
Yes, like that
Yeah.
Lecter was more based on like Bundy, which is kind of what Cox is kind of doing. Like just like he's pure evil, but he's also just kind of a dude.
Which makes perfect sense for the Manhunter universe, where Man's also trying to simultaneously sell you that no, Tom Noonan is the devil. Like
Yeah.
that milk toast dude could also be the space alien with the pantyhose on his head.
But the tattoo is too much.
That's how
We
I
really,
fucking love it.
goddamn, need to spend more time talking about
We
Manhunter.
do. We
We'll
keep
do a-
going off on fucking tangents, and we're in this room now. The greatest thing ever.
Also, what an amazing thing. If someone talks to you about the power of editing, just show the scene. Because they're not doing any special tricks. They just show the camera going into the room where none of this exists. They changed camera angles, so essentially they just turned the camera off, moved it. It could have been like 5 weeks later, we don't know, and scribbled the shit on the wall. And all of a sudden, through the magic of editing, 1 second later, you see all the writing on the wall, you see the pumpkin flaming, and it happens so quick, you buy into it, and it becomes like a magic trick, like it happened in front of you.
And
It's the
goddamn,
simplest thing in the world, and it works so well.
I love the pumpkin flaming. Look, we've seen it twice so far, but I love it so much.
It's a good pumpkin.
I love the simplicity of this final story so much. We've seen
Yeah.
so much craziness in each of the other stories, and this kind of just becomes like what you'd imagine the third act of The Changeling to be if it didn't have the third act that movie already has. Like if The Changeling, if shit got real with George C. Scott in the end of that movie, I feel like it would play out like this.
Also, it's fun because we've been trained to expect a big twist in each story so far. But the way this one presents itself, you're like, oh, there's no twist. This is a home invasion with a supernatural creature that we've been hinted at throughout the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the twist is Krieg accidentally follows some of the Halloween traditions and is spared, only to not really be spared because he fucked up earlier. I like that because you for a minute you stop thinking of twists. You're just like, oh, this is going to be a very simple story, and they still hit you with a twist when you're not expecting it. They hit you with 2 twists when you're not expecting it.
Yeah, I love how the twist of Krieg being the bus driver isn't really treated like it's a twist. It's just slowly made obvious until
Yeah.
at the very end they kind of nudge you to make sure you got it.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
like, he has the
on his cheek,
scars,
they're
too,
so
yeah.
obvious. Yeah, they didn't want to make you surprised by it, but they didn't want to make it so you make the connection like in the first second, probably. Oh, what a good shot! We got the spider walk.
Exorcist 3 shot.
My last fun fact. My last fun fact here. For Sam, they actually cast a 9-year-old to play Sam because they didn't want like a short person doing it. They wanted like someone as clumsy as a 9-year-old because their motor skills aren't as refined as an adult, which really shows in the character. Also, every time you see Sam's hands, he's got little baby hands. It's hilarious to me. And they love that idea of Sam looking like a toddler, not really toddler, but like a small child, and still having that kind of mischievous, not quite developed attitude to him, which is expressed perfectly through a child actor. Also, the weird thing is they claim they had 9-year-old stunt people. Like, I don't know if that means they had 9-year-olds that were trained as stunt people.
There are children stunt people, yeah.
Yeah, apparently they had child stunt people that did some of these scenes as well, which freaks me out. Like, I don't like the idea of a 9-year-old being more physically capable than me.
Most 9-year-olds are
I wanna
physically
meet you
capable of
hard-ass
this.
9-year-old.
I don't like that idea. It's just true, but I don't like it. Also, Sam just trying to eat the guy after he can't stab him.
Also,
I love how.
What do you love, Jamie? What do you love?
Just say I love how after all this, when Sam is revealed to be a pumpkin man, it's like, okay, I buy it.
Yeah.
Well, even
It's
more
not
than that,
ludicrous
it's
at
not just a pumpkin person, because if you look at it, his face is kind of carved. He's got, like, stitches on his mouth. This is, like, a pumpkin that has malevolence to be like, I need to shape my identity. There's some weird stuff going on with this design that's not explained in the movie, and it's fascinating.
Yeah, the design has a history to it, which is interesting.
Another weird thing here. Not a weird thing, this just pissed me off. So when I got the movie, the original DVD copy of this film had a slipcover that was the poster for Halloween. And when you took that slipcover off, there was an alternate cover underneath, which normally is really cool. I love that level of design. But the underneath cover was a picture of Sam's pumpkin face. So before I even got to watch the movie the first time, I'm like, oh, well, now I know what that guy looks like. So the big reveal at the end of the movie when the burlap sack is pulled back, I'm like, yeah, we knew that. It's on your cover. Yeah. They have since stopped using that design, but it was a real bummer at the time. Fun fact. I keep saying I'm out of fun facts, and I keep finding new ones. The world is beautiful. I ran out of tiki booze, so now I have a can of Tin Whiskers Nut Goody Porter, which is chocolate, peanut butter, and maple syrup all mixed into a beer, because I deserve candy while I watch the last 10 minutes of this movie.
What the fuck?
I think that's worse than last commentary drink, Cody. What the fuck?
This shit is delicious.
No.
Chocolate and peanut butter go together great. Maple,
I agree, but
maple?
No, Cody. No. Bad Cody. Down. You go
guys
outside.
You don't like craft beer, Dad. You don't know what it's like. Also, we just got a Thing reference from the John Carpenter lookalike, which is a lot of fun. You gotta be fucking kidding me.
Also Cox's idea.
I don't know. They didn't mention that on the commentary, but I mean, there are all sorts of slight references throughout the film to other horror films. Doherty's one of us. He loves these things.
It brings a mask back. I like how this is both a Thing reference and just an Evil Dead reference as well.
Also, the insert shots of that are so simple. Like, it's just the hand off camera, or that one, like, there's just a hole in the set. But it works so well. Like, fuck, that's the same shit they were doing in Evil Dead 2.
God, Sam looks freaky.
This movie is magical for never feeling cheap or glossy.
Right? While still doing a bunch of cheap effects. Like, again, that's the power of editing. You buy into the thing. When the rest of the story works so well, you don't pay attention to the technical aspects. But they're doing a lot of simple tricks just to pull this stuff together, and it works.
That's really the sweet spot for horror effects, I feel, when you can tell that things are done practically and tactile, but at the same time, you're not sitting there going like, oh, well, they conk that in later.
I'm sorry, Jamie. You said that's the sweet spot as Sam picked up the lollipop.
You're really stretching for a pun.
It wasn't a pun. It was a visual pun, but it just coincided so well. It made me laugh.
But Sam's lips
God, I
underneath
want
that
made-up
mask
movie candy
freaks
bar.
me out.
That's another trick. Like they just added the Foley sound effect of an arm breaking, even though there's no reason that arm would break in that twisting motion. You see that in movies all the time, but it's very effective when they get the right gushing noise.
Yeah. Also, I love that lollipop weapon.
So good. They were selling versions of that without the razor blade, unfortunately. At Spirit
Yeah, I
Halloween
almost
this
picked
year.
one up.
Let's folks at home, I know you're going to listen to this probably after Spirit Halloweens have closed near you. You should just go to their website and buy this shit. There was a bunch of trick-or-treat merch this year. How cool
Yep.
is that? You could buy Sam lights, like little Sam lights that had sound effects or something with them. There was the lollipop, like sword dagger thing, whatever you want to call it, as an accessory you could buy. You could get a Sam costume, a Sam mask. Who would have guessed this direct-to-video movie from like 10 years ago? Jesus Christ, 10 years ago. Would eventually become such a big deal in cult fashion that you could go down to your local Halloween store and buy a whole costume to go with it.
Trick or Treat has a seasonal presence now. It's pretty much everything Doherty wanted. Like
Yeah.
Sam has become one of the Halloween characters.
It's an adult hocus pocus.
Very much.
Something we haven't really talked about that I thought was very fascinating reading interviews with Doherty. Like this was made in the spirit of giving Halloween its own mascot because Doherty thought that Michael Myers didn't quite fit because he was too serious. And I love how, like, when you really like deconstruct Sam, he is the perfect Halloween horror character. His weapon is a broken lollipop.
His face is just a carved pumpkin. He's got the burlap
He's
mask
a
over that.
trick-or-treater.
He's a sinister trick-or-treater? Yeah, he respects the traditions. Halloween has a lot of traditions for what seems like a chaotic freeform holiday.
Yeah. And it's the only icon that actually uses the trick or treat aspect, the trick or treater aspect. It's
Mhm.
kind of usually glossed over in these kind of things, just for. And then that thing kills people, which is good. I mean, I like things that kill people.
One thing we haven't mentioned, and this is honestly amazing storytelling, this was done without audio. Like, there was no dialogue to explain that Krieg had to follow the Halloween rules to Sam. Like, Sam took the candy and walked off, and Krieg figured it out himself without a monologue or without another character for him to explain it to. And the audience does the same, because we see him observing those rules, and we internalize it.
Yeah.
This is trusting your audience to figure out what the fuck you're saying. And it's so good. So many other movies would have like ADR dialogue or a narration over this shit just to explain what happened. And it's not needed. This one trusts you to figure it out just by showing you the events. It's really, really confident, smart filmmaking.
Speaking of, I've never noticed that the kid is trick-or-treating as his dad. Setting up the fact that, oh yeah, he's probably just going to become a serial killer as well.
This is going to be the Kill Bill revenge story, where eventually that kid grows up and has to go after Sam.
But yeah,
Or I guess the Covenant werewolves.
So that's something the movie doesn't get enough credit for. There's so much subtle, silent world building weaved throughout this. Like even the opening credits are filled with so many little things.
It is a nice touch. We have made a full circle here, and we're now back to our opening segment once more. I have to say, though, as a couple's costume, they put a lot of work into this, and they should be proud of themselves. For a girl who doesn't like Halloween, she made a gigantic box robot costume and wore it
That's a
all
lot
night.
of work.
That's impressive.
I know, right?
Look, the costume was
Gotta
not
get
easy to
hot.
drink in, not easy to walk around in. It's hot. Like, that is a girlfriend who was making strides for her boyfriend who was really into this.
She seems very complicated. I get the sense she's very complicated.
So I meant to bring this up during the beginning because I've seen completely different takes on this. Is the fact that they need to watch porn before fucking, and it's just the same VHS tape over and over again. is that supposed to signal that they're like a cool modern couple, or is that supposed to be, oh, look at the pathetic yuppies? Because that's how I've always taken it, but a lot of people think that's really adorable. It's supposed to give them pathos.
I think it's really sad, yeah.
I mean, I live alone, so like, if some person was like, "Hey, put on porn and then we'll have sex," I'd be like, "Hey, this is pretty fantastic. You seem cool."
So I just realized the VHS tape has a different title on it. They have to hide it from, I guess, themselves.
Yeah, what if her parents come over? Maybe they live in the neighborhood, and they just
If
start
they're
watching her VHS tapes.
It said nature documentary, though. That's catnip for an old lady.
That's true. They should hide that better.
Oh, maybe
It
that's
should be
their
something
fetish,
like
though. They want
wedding
to,
footage.
like, they keep inviting the elderly over and hoping that it will fool them to accidentally watching porn.
This
Hey,
is
Mr. Krieg, we've got that videotape of school buses going into the water.
Ooh, ooh.
Hey,
I was gonna
James
say, this is
Manford
a-
did stunts on this.
Hey, I was about to say, this is a hard situation to gauge, and then I realized it was in relation to porn, so that would have been terrible word foo. But
Oh.
I feel like, in a lot of ways, like the things I would assume to put on there so other people wouldn't watch would actually be what other people might want to pick at random. Like, to me, I would put it like, Home Movies 94, and throw it in a corner somewhere, and they'd be like, hey, cool, memories! I'd be like, no, please, not that one.
I would just put testicles in anus.
Honestly, if you're smart, if
That's
you
a
had
dare.
porn, you should just write it as like a fucking horror film. Just put it
It's
as like
like
Return of the Living Dead 4, Rave to the Grave, and old people probably like, I have no interest in that. I will leave it alone.
That is pretty much kryptonite, isn't it? Like that, or like the last Tales from the Crypt movie.
Oh shit.
Ooh.
Are you talking Bordello of Blood or are you talking Ritual?
Ritual,
Oh,
the fake one.
Okay. I still haven't seen that.
fucking Ritual. Why would you?
Exactly. I only
They
have so many
deleted
hours to
Crypt
spend.
Keeper.
They deleted him? I thought they just threw him in just so they could get some like, product placement in there.
Didn't they, Mike? Didn't they cut Crypt Keeper scenes out? Like they're only available on the DVD.
I believe so.
Why in the world? He's always the best part of any media he's involved in.
I'm still waiting for the one they tease at the end of Demon Knight.
Yeah. I'm very mad that the rights situation is so messed up right now for Tales from the Crypt. Because I think we're primed right now to get a revival of it.
We are.
Creepshow is doing amazing for Shudder. I feel like if HBO Max, they're buying up products left and right. If they could somehow launch a new Tales from the Crypt and bring the Crypt Keeper back, fuck, that'd be enough to tilt me into buying that service.
Oh, you'd be printing money. People
Oh, please stop putting things on HBO Max. That's that service I'm not gonna get.
I'm not gonna get it either, but I'm still mad about that. That's what I'm saying. This
We're
would be
all
enough
mad.
to push me over where I just fucking buy it.
Jesus Christ, let's talk about anything else but Trick or Treat.
Have you guys bought? Have you guys bought any of the collected trade paperbacks of creepy comics? Because like if you go into Barnes and Noble right now, they have a bunch of them, but they're like $50 a crack, and there's
I have like two
tons of editions.
of the big hardcover collections.
Ooh, what do you think of them?
They're good.
Are they worth the money?
I'd say so. They're good like art. I mean, I have the big like the hardcover ones. There's like smaller like paperback one.
No, I'm talking
they're-
like the hardcover ones. I haven't seen the softcover ones. I've only seen like the actual hardcover editions.
They're good. They're great reprints. They're also kind of have like an archive quality to them with like extras. I highly recommend them.
Oh, that's good to know.
See, that's the thing. They seem really cool, but I feel like if I buy one, I'm gonna have to buy like the other goddamn 50 of them.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. I have two, and now it's like, well, I've gone down this hole.
Yep. That's why I stopped collecting. They were releasing the original Batman comics in chronological year for a while. And I got the first two. I'm like, I can't go down this path. I can't. Batman's been around too long. I can't buy them all. And I just gave away the first 2 years because it was going to be too tempting otherwise.
Yeah, they
Oh,
stopped
that's me
printing
and
those.
EC Comics collections. They're so expensive, and there's so many of them.
They really stopped making those Batman ones? I guess after a certain while it wouldn't make sense because there'd be more than just Batman published per
And
year.
I
There'd be all
don't
the
think
spin-offs.
I don't think they are exactly hot sellers.
Yeah, the first couple years are really fun, just from a nostalgia standpoint. Like, hey, fuck, it's the first time you see the Joker. Look, there's Batman hanging a giant from a glider. Like, there's a lot of weird things that are just
Once
a
you're
lot
into the
of
mid
fun.
50s, though, you're not plopping down a gigantic
hell,
price
no.
point for just like Batman goes to the zoo today. Like, it just doesn't make any sense.
Honestly,
the
no, I
entire
might still buy that.
The entire Chronicles like publishing line was axed in like 2005 or something, wasn't it? Like they hard stopped those like in the middle of publication.
Yeah.
No, it couldn't be 2005. Fuck. No, it couldn't have been that.
No, they did bring back a version of that in bigger, in like these really huge collections a couple years ago, and that they also stopped. It's kind of like how every time they go to reprint Sandman Mystery Theater, they get Volume 1 out, they get Volume 2 out, and then they decide those didn't sell enough, and they never print Volume 3, the last goddamn volume, so I can just never fucking have Volume 3 of Sandman Mystery Theater. They were also going to goddamn include the Sandman Mystery Theater and Neil Gaiman's Sandman crossover one-shot, and they didn't print that either, and I'm really mad about it, and I'm sorry I went off on this tangent.
No, that was the perfect rant to end Trick or Treat.
Happy Halloween, everybody.
Happy Halloween, everybody. If you've enjoyed this commentary, because honestly, this was sterling, you should enjoy it. I'm trying confidence now. It feels weird. I don't like it.
Stop
But
it,
if you
Phil.
enjoyed this, yeah, this is terrible. Whole thing. Fuck, if you're an idiot and you like this shit, there's more box office pulp available. Sorry, I can get through this. There's no pressure. The movie's over. We can do multiple takes. This is garbage. There's more box office pulp available on Stitcher. You can find us on Facebook. We are on Twitter. Just look up Box Office Pulp. And we have our very own website, boxofficepulp.com. And more exciting than our bullshit, Mike, fuck, you've got your own shit now. Why don't you pimp your shit?
I am now a contributing writer to our good friend Carter Lee's new horror website, horrormovieshub.com. It just launched, so expect a ton more shit. I'm privy to some information about what's coming soon to it, and it's pretty big and pretty fucking cool, so go ahead and bookmark that. It's the hub that drips blood. Go ahead and go there. I've gotten 2 articles up at the time this recording is. Carter's got a nice cocktail recipe for you on there as well for Annabelle
I saw that.
Comes Home.
You're
going to get so drunk.
He's doing drinks too? He's doing drinks too now? I was mad.
You ripped him off somehow through time travel. He's my boss now, so I have to say that.
God damn it.
So go there, check it out, follow that on Facebook as well. And Carter's also Twitter pages at The Carter Lee for further information as well.
Yeah, I've read Mike's first 2 articles, and they are excellent. I learned so much about Halloween as Grinch Night.
I could talk a lot about Halloween as Grinch Night. It's fucking weird.
I mean, that's the best way to describe it. They should just put that on the DVD cover for the special features. Regardless, folks, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you have a great Halloween, a happy Halloween, even. And if you don't listen to this on Halloween, which makes sense because that's just one day out of the year, save those goodwill for next Halloween. I don't know, bankroll it. Anyways, folks, that's a wrap. Get the hell out of here.
I'd like to get killed by a sexy werewolf.
But what if that sexy werewolf killed you inside of a short bus plummeting over a ravine?
Oh, God, Jamie, cock. Stop.
Oh, Jesus, oh, Lord.
Oh, my God. I just came scary movie style.
God, my office is covered in cum.
You get more out of life when you go out to a movie. Please remember to replace the speaker on the post when you leave the theater.
I really thought we were going to stop that with Mike going, I would really love to be murdered by a werewolf lady. And no, it got worse. Like, we left enough silence where I'm like, good, that joke is dead. What a great way to get. No, there's more.
We have to return from the well from which we started, Cody.
Oh, that's our Halloween parable.
This is Box Office Pulp Guy, and this has been a Pulp Podcast production. Now please, 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 put a gun in my mouth and pull the trigger and say goodnight.
And now, on with the show.